previous videos, I did the DHCP fundamentals, and then I did a basic config setup for a switch. Now, in this video, I want to go ahead and do do the same for a router. Router gets a little tricky because you want to, set it up. So, why do I have a hard time finding the switch? Oh, right there. So, let me go ahead and do the DHCP config for the router, and DHCP server router. I guess hopefully that makes sense. This will be the end user. Let's go ahead and first and foremost connect everything. Let's see, 00, and again, this video is DHCP off the router. Okay, so it's a little tricky setting this up, but what I'm gonna do is, in order for us to communicate between the end user switch to the router, I'm gonna do a router on a stick. So let me start with the switch config. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a switch config. All right, so on the switch itself, let's go ahead and create VLAN 100. Do I want to do 100? Let's do 100. All right, so VLAN 100, and actually, you know what? Sorry, let's do no VLAN 100. Let's just do VLAN 10. All right, to keep things simple, name users. So VLAN 10 will be for all the end users attaching on the bottom off the switch. And now let's configure our first FA02. So interface FA02, switch port, mode access, we're creating an access port, switch port access VLAN 10. Okay, whoops, that's my wifey. All right, so the switch is set. Let's get a green light here. Green light, perfect. Now let's configure the port going up north, and the port going up north on interface right here, FA01 is to be a trunk port. So because we're gonna create sub interfaces up north, and that's just general rule of thumb. You can watch inter VLAN routing and connectivity, router on a stick, and all that jazz on my other videos. But I'm just going to go through this really quickly. Sorry if I'm not explaining anything. Is this shut? Is there one no shut? Okay. I always make sure I do that because it's caught me a couple times. Now, the configuration on the router. Okay. So, we're going to divvy up, show IP and brief. Okay, we're going to divvy up gig 00. So, for sub interfaces, let me do this. I went to 168 1.1, actually 10.1. No. 10, Sorry, it's because I want my sub interfaces to be dot 10. So 192.168.10 right here to 0. So oh yeah, that's right. So I gotta do the encapsulation first. That one Q 10, and then IP address. I think you don't need to no shut sub interfaces because it's hanging off of the original interface, and as long as the original interface is no shut, that's fine. Okay, so sorry, talking to myself, and it's all green. All right, we're looking good so far. Now again, we still have an issue here because nowhere in the network do we have a DHCP server. So again, the end device is going through the whole DORA process. It's trying to discover a DHCP server. Remember the DORA process? It's trying to discover it's broadcasting within the network, and because this end user is in VLAN 10, it's broadcasting within that VLAN. So it's broadcasting within that VLAN 10, and it's not finding any DHCP, and it's sad. Okay. But we're about to change that. So on the server itself, we're going to implement the DHCP server. On the router itself, we're going to implement the DHCP server. Okay, so let's turn DHCP on. Boom, on, and let's create a pool very similar to the switch. And let's see, the network we want to divvy out is here. The gateway would be always, more often than not, here. Actually, you don't really need to do that. What am I doing? And then, you know, DNS server really depends on how you want to configure this. This is for another video, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to do Google DNS server. And that's pretty much it. These 4 lines of code here, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 lines will be sufficient to get DHCP going, and you know, actually, I also want to exclude DHCP excluded addresses. So I'm just going to do a range, 10.1 to 192.168, 10.20, just because .1 is the default gateway, and there we go. This is why I need to do an exclusion, because the IP conflict. So let's go ahead and put the DHCP exclusion config, and then now it should be above the range. So DORA is going up, and voila, so it's a .21 now. The default gateway 10.1, which is up all the way up north, and yeah, and that's how you configure DHCP on a router. My next video, I'll go ahead and go through the setting up DHCP for the firewall.